Welcome back to Let It Rip as promised. Of course, Republican Attorney General candidate Matt DePerno joins us to mix it up on the panel. And on that panel tonight, we're joined now by Oakland County GOP Chair Rocky Rachowski. Next to him, pastor of New Destiny Christian Fellowship Church and civil rights activist, the Reverend Horace Sheffield. Plus, Matt DePerno isn't the only candidate here tonight. We're also joined by Sharon McPhail, former Detroit City Council member, noted attorney, and now Democratic candidate for Congress in the 13th District, and a crowded field it is. And we all know Charlie Langton. We will say it again and again because the man doesn't sleep, the hardest working man in TV and radio. And Charlie, good to see you, and thanks for joining all of us here today in order to talk about this very important discussion. We were talking to Matt a moment ago. Sharon, I'll begin with you. Is there anything in particular you heard this candidate say, if he wanted to become the Attorney General, that you took issue with right away?
I would never take issue with what he believes. He has a right to believe whatever he wants to. But I will tell you that we are looking at a draft opinion, and that abortion is today legal, and that anybody who wants one, who for her own health care and for her own reasons, has the right to go and get one. It has not been overruled. It's a draft opinion. When we see the final opinion of the Supreme Court, we will know what they've done, and then everybody will have their options.
But the 1931 law is one of the options, and it could become a felony in the state of Michigan. And Michigan would stand to be one of the harshest states in the country in terms of the punishment.
Right. It's a really draconian law that would take place immediately. But I think the governor's on it, and certainly we have a lot of people in the state of Michigan who believe in a woman's right to choose. And I think, anybody who doesn't want to have an abortion shouldn't.
Rocky, when you hear people talk about how draconian the law is and how old the law is on the books here in 1931, making no exception for women in this case, does that bother you at all?
Well, I think there should be an exception, just like Matt DePerno said. There should be an exception for the life of the mother, but and I think Sharon McPhail highlighted it very well, and that is that this will be, if the draft decision is actual law, if it's the decision of the Supreme Court, it would bring it back to the voters of the state. The state's voters, democracy, people would have the right to decide what type of state they want. And that's what Alito, and by the way, let's not forget Ruth Bader Ginsburg, basically one of the justices that the left adored, said that this decision, Roe v. Wade, was poorly drafted. And that actually, that Alito's arguments of giving it back to the states is probably the best thing for us to do. And let the state decide. Let the state legislature decide. Let you and I and Sharon and Horace and Matt DePerno and everyone else decide, as well as those people that are watching today in the state of Michigan. Do we honor life, or do we honor a society that believes that a child is not life?
Well, I'm kind of like not really all the way there, because I kind of think women ought to decide. It's our bodies. There's nobody up here who can have an abortion except me.
I agree.
Well, not now.
I agree. Unless you've got an iPhone and it shows the meme of the guy. Anyway, I digress. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, and I have a daughter, just like Matt was talking about his daughters, it's a compassion issue where you're right. We want women to have equality. I want women to have the same equality and same opportunities as I do. But again, it comes down to, where does life begin? And when we don't know, we have to give it the protection of the law.
But Reverend Sheffield, when you hear people say the same opportunity, like you heard Rocky say just now, does this 1931 law allow the same opportunity to women in Michigan than it would in other places?
Well, let me just say, this whole tenor and tone and where the Republicans are just frightening to me. I must be honest with you. I mean, I grew up on the Milliken. I knew some really outstanding Republicans, and I would take a whole lot of them over the current bunch. When I listen to him talk, I mean, it's frightening. I mean, I can best say that they're crazy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. For people who look like me, we would be set back, and that's the Michigan, Republican Party. Listen. I'm a pastor, so obviously my own personal choice, my own spirituality. I believe in people, having the choice. But then with me, I would exercise, and by the way, I wouldn't have an opportunity to exercise because I can't be pregnant. But I think that's a person's choice. I mean, and I really think, let me be honest with you, and I've been on here many times. I'm not a racist. But I think a lot of this is rooted in white male anxiety. I call it WMA. It absolutely is.
Matt, when you
and by the way, I would call him DeNono, not.
I gotta chime in real quick,
Rocky. Matt, we haven't heard from the person who's running for the top cop in the state of Michigan. When you hear someone like Reverend Sheffield say that it worries him, the Michigan Republican Party wants to set people who look like him back.
Right.
It's racist. You're saying it's racist. You're saying it's racist.
The only difference between Michigan and Mississippi in 1954 and 2020
it's racist.
But Matt, why shouldn't that be a concern to anyone who's running for office in the Republican Party to hear that?
Well, it's a concern to me to hear that from anybody because I'm not racist. The Republican Party is not racist. What we're talking about here in terms of this draft opinion, which may or may not be the final opinion, is the issue of allowing states to choose. Now listen, we have for many years, since the beginning of this country, we have had many thorny issues that we've had to deal with. We've had many morality issues that we've had to deal with.
So they had a right to
chose Joe Biden.
But just share one thing.
The voters chose Joe Biden, and there's all of that.
Let me share one thing. As much as I love and adore and respect you, you're absolutely incorrect. The Democratic Party is the party of the KKK and Miss Sanger and the party of Planned Parenthood. And there are more black babies that are killed on a daily basis for abortion.
Why don't you
help?
Why don't you get out here and advocate to pay people's rents, fix some roofs, or whatever?
Listen, that's where
you guys can care less about what happens to black people after they're born. Yes, you do.
That's why the Democratic Party
is
losing.
There's obviously people who are running for any office in the state of Michigan. There has to be someone there to address the fact that there is a fractured population in the state of Michigan, people who feel like they're disenfranchised, and they're afraid. This is fear. People are afraid of a party that they believe doesn't see them. How then, Matt, as someone who's running for Attorney General, do you help convince people that you're working for everybody?
Well, I'm working for everybody because that's who I am. Listen, I've been an attorney for 25 years. I came out of relatively obscurity. I ran because I was frustrated with government. I was frustrated because I called my representatives. They didn't call me back. I called everyone in the state I could to voice my opinions about certain issues. No one called me back. And I said, if I can't effectuate change through that process, I will get involved and run on my own.
Saying, though? Let me just say this. To me, Make America Great is no different than white citizens' parties. I'm just saying. I mean, you guys are fooling yourselves. I mean, it's racist in intent, racist in the way it's carried out to keep people from voting and to suggest after all of this.
Where is that?
I mean, it's almost as if
let's stop with the
Reverend, in fairness,
only people are entitled to be a part of this American fabric.
In fairness,
why are you dividing?
Because that's the way Republicans are carried out.
What have we ever done? What have I ever done to make you feel that way? Nothing.
Everything you just said before I got up here, it makes me feel more frightened. If you were the Attorney General, you support this nonsense that Trump is talking, you would suppress votes. I mean, you won't even admit that Biden has to be won.
Tell me one vote that Matt DePerno would suppress. Matt DePerno has been on the vanguard of fighting to make sure that every vote is counted.
Rocky, you chair the party, whatever.
No, even if I wasn't chairing the party,
I want to turn things over. I want to turn things over to the woman who's running in the 12th congressional district.
Yes.
Spent her life.
That would be Janice Winfrey. I'm Sharon McPhail. I'm in the 13th.
Excuse me. But when we think a little bit about what happens when people go running to the polls because of this issue, because if the Supreme Court ends up overturning Roe v. Wade, in your district, who does that help in terms of the voter turnout? Is it going to be a blue rush or a red rush?
Well, I guess we'll find that out when it happens, but I will tell you that it's an issue that women are very concerned about, and 70%, as you said, believe in a woman's right to choose. So keep it up.
This is a bonanza for money. This is all about money.
Wait, hold on. Here's the thing. Everyone, you and me, should be excited about this Supreme Court decision. You know why?
Why would I be
because
it allows you
this allows you to have a say in the issue. The Supreme Court, when they handed down Roe v. Wade, which is largely panned as one of the most ridiculous Supreme Court decisions in the last 100 years.
So with Brown versus Board of Education be the same?
They took
I mean,
away.
let the states decide whether or not we should say
They
we
took away our right.
Reverend Sheffield,
They took away our right
say that
to
that's
have
the
a
most
decision.
democratic way to handle this?
But isn't
To
there a
actually hand it to the voters?
But isn't there a constitutional right to privacy, though, seriously?
That's what
That's not the issue.
Women
That's not
want
the
those
issue.
rights
Yes,
to
it
do
is.
what they want with their
Yes,
body
it is.
without government. That's a
That is not the
Republican
issue.
argument.
Right.
The
Republicans
issue-
don't
Someone
want
else vote on
government
that.
in their
I've
bodies.
been a lawyer
It's
for
a Republican.
45 years.
Sharon, go
the
ahead.
right to privacy is a constitutional issue that was the foundation of that decision.
That decision.
I know you don't like
That
it.
decision was created
but-
by the
Ruth Bader
penumbra.
Ginsburg didn't
The
like it.
penumbra
and
that
you all
flowed
put a person on
around.
the Supreme Court who had never practiced law a day in her life. Of
Wait a minute.
course
No,
they're
that was
going
the
to come
Democratic
out.
Party in the state of Michigan.
No, that was
Check it out.
that was they may
The
have done
Supreme
some stuff. I
Court
don't know,
took
but
away your right and my right to have
No, they
a
didn't.
vote on
They
this
took-
issue.
they gave
we
me
do
my
not
right to
govern in this
privacy.
country by fiat.
They gave
we
me
govern
your
by
right.
consent,
with
and
all
that's
due
what the
respect
Supreme
to you,
Court is
sir,
going to say.
Sir, with all due respect to you,
Yeah.
where we agree is that your representative should have called you back, and that's why I'm going to do that. I'm going to call people back, and I'm going to hear them, because I believe seek first to understand should be the rule. And even though we don't agree, I listen to you because you have a right to express your opinion to your representative, and I will listen to people. But I still want to have autonomy over my own body. You must understand that. If we decide to pass a law about what you do with your parts, how are you going to feel about it? No,
It's about
seriously,
life.
wait, he's
Where does
answering
life
a question,
begin?
Rocky.
That's the question.
Be quiet, Rocky.
Where does life begin?
Reverend Sheffield, I want to end with you
It
on this
begins with
particular
him,
part of this
'cause if
discussion.
he's not there-
We know that the Republican Party, so many people or candidates depend on Trump for the support, and they want to ride that Trump wave. If someone rides the Biden wave, are they better or worse off for that, given his approval ratings right now?
To be perfectly honest with you, prior to this Supreme Court leak, I would probably run for Biden. But what the Republican Party, I mean, that's just me, to be honest with you. I mean, Biden is sinking in the polls. I mean, I think it's not fair. I think he's done a good job. But yeah, I wouldn't run based on Biden, but I wouldn't run based on Trump, even if Trump was at 98%, because my conscience wouldn't allow me to run to support a bigot or racist and someone who's dividing this country.
Again, we keep throwing up these things.
He's true.
Show me actual
just
how
look at what the
people
man
in
does.
Reverend
Let me
Sheffield,
tell you
Rocky,
something.
we're going to take a break. We're going to give you both a chance
the
to
Germans
talk.
benefited from Hitler, so that make it right?
We're going to give you both a chance to
wait a
talk.
minute, this man is a nut.
After
This
the
man
break.
is anti-patriotic.
Reverend Sheffield, we're going to wrap it up in just a
Yeah.
second.
Right ahead.
When we come back,
Trump.
we're going to hopefully have some room for some final thoughts. That's coming up next.
Yeah.
20 seconds left here for Sharon McPhail running the 13th district.
Thank you. I want to use this time to tell women all over the state of Michigan that as of today, you have the right to choose. This is a draft opinion. No one knows what it's going to look like when we get to the end of it, but you have the right to choose as of today. Make your choice.
Sharon, thank you. Matt DePerna running for Attorney General.
Yeah, thank you. I want the vote of everyone in this state, because I will fight for everyone in the state. Republicans, Democrats, and independents will return this office back to the law firm for the people and protect the rights of everyone in the state of Michigan.
Matt DePerna running for AG. We're going to make an effort to get all of the candidates that, of course, are running for office as much access as we can on this show. We thank you for watching this edition of Let It Rip.